Oh, F my life. I just filmed this entire video with my microphone on mute. Fantastic. Take two. Hey makeup friends. So recently I posted a video talking about the 10 eyeshadow palettes that I would keep if I could only keep 10. Today we're going to talk about the 10 face products I would keep if I could only keep 10. Let's get into this. As always, I want to start off by welcoming you back to my channel, or if you are new here, then hello and welcome. My name is Kara, and on my channel, we like to mix beauty, brains, and the occasional F-bomb. On my eyes today, I have the new Retro palette from Natasha Denona, and on my lips is another Natasha Denona product, and that is her lipstick in Sava. So, when I sat down to do this video, I thought, what areas am I actually going to cover? And so what I narrowed it down to was like the basics. So foundation, concealer, blush, bronzer, and highlighter. But I'm only trying to keep 10 products, and that's 5 categories. So there's really not a lot of wiggle room. So what I thought about first was the base, foundation and concealer. For concealer, it was a fairly easy choice for me, despite the fact that I have about 1.5 million concealers in my collection. There is one that floats to the top, and if I could only keep one of them, this is the one it would be, and that is the Tint Idole Ultra Wear Concealer from Lancome. I have it in the shade 250. I did do a fully dedicated wear test and review of this, which I will go ahead and link up here in case you're interested. But what I love about this is that it checks the boxes that I am personally looking for when it comes to concealer. I need high coverage, I want it to be creaseless, and I want it to wear as well and as long as possible. This marks all the boxes for me. So straight out of the gate, it has a ton of coverage, which is something that I am definitely looking for in a concealer because I do have dark circles. But I'm also 41 years old and have some fine lines going on underneath my eyes and some not so fine lines. They are product huggers, shall we say. Concealer does like to travel into those little lines and just hang out and get snuggled by my creases. I don't necessarily like that. This one behaves itself and it stays put. So you don't get those like telltale lines of product under the eyes. It smooths out really nicely and it doesn't look drying or creepy under the eyes. As well though, by the end of the day, while there is still some signs of wear and while some of that coverage has worn away, there's still quite a bit left. So it's still looking good under the eyes 8 hours after the fact. So that is why I'm keeping this one. Then I turned my mind to foundation, and I didn't want to keep a ton of foundations. Again, I'm looking at curating down to 10, and there's 5 categories. And I knew that I was going to want a lot of latitude when it came to blush. So I really reined in the foundation options. And what I decided was that I would have one lower coverage one and one higher coverage one. So I can either wear them on their own individually or mix and match for a more customized coverage level. So for the lighter coverage option, I stuck with this one here, which is the Watertone foundation from Makeup Forever. I have this in the shade Y245, and I have talked about this plenty of times on my channel. I just love this product, frankly. It is very lightweight, it's very runny. It doesn't look like it's gonna offer a lot of coverage, and yet it does help to just even out the skin tone. I don't have a lot of quote unquote imperfections on my skin, but I do have mismatched skin tone. I have darker areas around my mouth. I do get a little bit of redness in along the sides of my nose, and this just helps to like even things out a little bit and give a more perfected canvas. But because it's so lightweight, first of all, it's not heavy on my skin. So by the end of the day, I don't have that urge to just wash it off, but it also wears really well. So you don't get really noticeable signs of wear throughout the day. And I am prone to that. Like I will have foundation that pools in between my eyebrows with other foundations. I will sometimes get it where it kind of looks almost like a dappled pony along my temples. I'm not entirely sure why that happens, but it just starts to break up weirdly around this area. And of course around my nose and a lot of times on top of my nose as well. This one, however, doesn't succumb to gravity in the same way that a lot of other foundations do. So it's not just like dripping down and catching in this area, nor does it do that weird breaking up thing across my forehead. It just wears so nicely, and as it starts to wear away, it's wearing away evenly so that it's not obvious about it. Now, fuller coverage foundations are not something that I typically go for, but I do have one in my collection that I really, really enjoy and really stand behind, and that one is from Natasha Denona. This is the foundation X Plus, and I have this one in the shade 25W. This one is deeper than this one, so again, I can mix and match to get the perfect shade depending on what time of year it is. But this one, even though it is a little bit deeper, it's still completely workable. It doesn't look off on my skin in any way. This one does have definitely more coverage than this one. I would say that this is buildable up to full coverage. It will just sort of cancel out any discoloration that you have. Only the largest and darkest of my freckles will peek through with it. But despite the fact that it has such high coverage, it doesn't feel heavy on the skin, and it doesn't look weird on the skin or mask-like in any way. It has a very natural finish to it, so it's not overly radiant, it's not overly mattifying. It just looks like my skin times 10. It just looks perfected, and that's what I'm hoping for with the foundation. This one also wears really well throughout the day. It will show more signs of wear than the Watertone, but that's just based on the fact that it has a thicker consistency to begin with, but nothing to complain about. Nothing that by the end of the day, it looks horrific or it just looks like basically the makeup's wearing me and I'm not wearing the makeup. So basically what I'm saying is I have got all contingencies covered with just these two foundations. So with those items out of the way then, it's time to look at the more fun items, the bronzer, highlighter, and blushes. So I'm going to deal with bronzer first, and you're going to have to forgive me because I did cheat just a little bit. So I pulled a duo instead of a single bronzer. And the one that I pulled is from Patrick Ta. So this is the Cream Contour and Powder Bronzer Duo in She's Statuesque. So as you can see here, up here you have the bronzer powder, and then under this little flap here is the cream contour. Now I don't rely very heavily on contour anymore. I used to use it quite a bit more before I lost over 100 pounds. Doing so really changed my face, and I don't really need to cheat the cheekbones as much as I used to. But I do still like to have contour products on hand because I'm still self-conscious of the chinular region. There's a little bit of excess down here. It's fine, but I do like to have a contour to just help that jawline out a little bit. I don't use it all the time, but when I'm doing like a more full glam or it's date night, something fun like that, I do like to go that extra step. So I do want to have a contour product on hand for that. But I do use bronzer pretty much every day. And I really like the undertone of this one. It is warm enough that it does add that sun-kissed glow to the skin, but not so warm that it looks orangey or artificial. These are also very buildable products, which I also like because when it's winter and I'm as fair as I'm going to get, I can go in with a light hand with these and they're not too strong of a contrast. But in summer, when I've got as much sun as I'm going to get, I can build them up and they're still going to show up on my skin. So this is a perfect bronzer duo for me to keep. On to highlighter then, and I have selected two. So one should really come as no surprise because I love this one and I've talked about it nonstop. It's Cookie from Benefit. I hate the packaging on this, I truly do, but the highlighter itself is where it's at. This one almost reminds me of like the Super Shock shadows from ColourPop, although this is a little bit more powdery, so a little bit easier to work with, frankly. I've got quite the dip going on in the pan in here, but it's just this beautiful champagne with a tiny hint of like rose gold in there. I'm not one that typically enjoys pink tinted highlighters just because I have more of a golden / yellow undertone, so they look a little strange on me. But somehow this one just ends up looking realistic. It's the highlighter that I'm wearing today. It's chef's kiss perfection. But sometimes, especially in summer or when I'm doing a more bronzy kind of look overall, this one runs a little bit more pink. So the more golden and bronze tones I add, yes, that just sounded weird in my head. The more of those that I add, the pinker this looks in contrast. So I did want to have a more golden highlighter option as well. And for that, I've chosen this one here from Jouer, and this is the All Over Face and Body Highlighter in Molten Glow. So I will do a little comparison for you so that you can see them swatched side by side. So this is the Jouer up here, and this one is Benefit. You can see they both have very similar reflective qualities to them, but that undertone is a little bit different. So having the two of them will give me a little bit of diversity with my highlighters. And I was looking at some of my like really fun, almost duochromatic kind of highlighters, like the ones that I have from Kaleidos. But again, I'm trying to curate down to only 10. I knew I was going to want a lot more blushes than anything else. And a lot of those kind of unique highlighters can be achieved with eyeshadows. So that's what I would use instead. So then we are on to blushes. So if you've been keeping count, we're at 6 products, which left me with 4 for blushes. And that was really limiting because I like to have a variety of shade options available to me. So what I had to do was just sort of pare it down to broad strokes. What are those categories? I wanted a more natural looking blush. I wanted a more quote unquote fun blush, and I definitely wanted a rosy toned blush. So I ended up with 1 natural, 1 rosy, and 2 more fun / unique colors. So let's get into them. So first up is this one here from KVD. This is the Everlasting Blush in Foxglove. Again, if you've been around for a while, you've heard me rave about these powder blushes. They are beautiful. They are velvety smooth. They have really good pigmentation, but they blend out really nicely. And this shade in particular is just so pretty. It's just such a really natural looking rose tone. Again, you can build it up if you have a bit of a deeper complexion, or you can sheer it out so there is a little bit of variety available there. I just think it's perfect. From there, I wanted something that was going to basically enhance my own skin, not necessarily look like I'm wearing blush, but just bring that kiss of sunshine to my skin that just makes it look a lot healthier and makes me look a bit more alive than I often do when I first wake up. So for that, I've pulled this one here from Natasha Denona, and this is in the shade Tan. It is one of the serum blush things. What is it called? Puff Paint Liquid Blush Serums. There we have it. Again, this is a product I have talked about. I was worried when I picked it up that it was just gonna look straight up brown and just look like I smeared dookie on my face or something, but it has like a nice apricot kind of undertone to it. So it is a liquid blush, but it blends out really nicely and it lasts all day on the skin. But as you can see, it gives almost like a burnt apricot kind of look, and it just looks like your skin a day or 2 after you get a little bit of a sunburn, and it's just transitioning into a tan, which I think is just like the perfect aesthetic. I don't know why, but I do. So this one achieves it for me. Now, like I said, I have 2 that are a little bit more unique / fun. So first up, let's talk about this one here from Melt. This is the Creme Blushlight in Honey Thief, and it's just this really pretty pinky apricot kind of shade. These kind of tones are right up my alley. It's flirting with being a coral, but not quite there, which frankly works for me because coral and I don't always get along. But this one has just enough depth to it to make it look a little bit more realistic on the skin, but still bring that fun element. And then the last one here is from Milk Makeup, and this is one of their new Bionic blushes. And what shade did I pick up in this? Does it say on here? I have no idea what shade this is, except that it's the red one. That's all I know. So it's just a little squeeze tube. I'm not wild on this mechanism, to be honest. I do wish it was a little bit more like this with the doe foot, but here we are. So you just squeeze a little bit of the product out. Obviously, you know how to work a squeeze tube. There, focus, focus, there it is. So it is like straight up red when you first apply it, which looks very intimidating and very scary, but take a moment to recognize this is the blush that I'm wearing today. So it does sheer out really nicely, but again, it is very, very buildable. So if I wanted to have a really intense blush moment, I could, but I can also sheer it out nicely. And again, this lasts all day on the skin. So there you have it, guys. If I had to curate my face products down to only 10, these are the ones that I would keep. And I feel like with this collection, I have quite a bit of versatility. I'm able to mix and match. I've got all the bases covered, and any gaps that do appear, I could probably fill with eyeshadows. So I feel good about this. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Which foundation would you keep? Which blush would you keep? All that kind of stuff. Go through the categories. Let me know what you would keep from your own collection. But for now, I'm going to wrap the video up here. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will see you in my next one. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.